It is Friday, September 21st, and this is Fox and Friends First, happening right now, 4 a.m. here on the East Coast. Supreme conditions. Brett Kavanaugh's accuser releasing a list of demands before she testifies. But will Republicans let her call the shots? We're live in Washington with new developments.
You got to have a border. You don't have a border, you don't have a country.
And putting Democrats on blast, President Trump demanding lawmakers pay for his border wall. Can Congress deliver? And letting the beer flow after 635 days, Browns fans finally have a reason to celebrate. Fox and Friends First starts right now. Friday. That's all you got to say. A little Rascal Flatts to get you moving this morning. Thank you so much for joining us right here on Fox and Friends First. You know, it feels like fall in the air here in New York City. Let us know how it feels where you are waking up. I'm Heather Childers. Let's start with our top story. Once again, some new developments to tell you about. The woman accusing Judge Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault is now apparently willing to testify, but under specific conditions. This, as Judge Kavanaugh doubles down on taking the stand as soon as possible. Doug Luzader is live for us in Washington, D.C. with what happens next. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Heather. Yeah, talks are underway, and that may be a positive sign that this hearing may, in fact, happen next week. But at least one of the demands being made by Kavanaugh's accuser is raising some eyebrows from a legal standpoint. Let's take a look at this list of demands from attorneys for Christine Blasey Ford. First of all, they do not want any questions from lawyers at this hearing, only from members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Kavanaugh would not be allowed in the room, and Judge Kavanaugh must testify first. Now, that last demand seems very unlikely to be met by the Senate Judiciary Committee. There's a longstanding legal tenet in this country that the accused always has an opportunity to respond to allegations. But that issue aside, Democrats continue to rally around Blasey Ford, saying that Republicans are rushing this process.
The option is show up Monday or don't show up at all. I consider that to be something set up for failure. They would like a he said, she said scenario. Because you know what happens in those scenarios? The men are typically believed because you see those issues through your own lens.
President Trump, meantime, headlined a rally last night in Las Vegas, and he did rather carefully address this issue, backing Kavanaugh. He also told Sean Hannity that this confirmation shouldn't be further delayed.
To take a man like this and besmirch. Now, with that being said, let her have her say, and let's see how it all works out. But I don't think you can delay it any longer. They've delayed it a week already.
Yeah, if this hearing doesn't happen soon, it's going to be difficult for Senate Republicans to stick to one of their goals here, which is to have Kavanaugh confirmed and seated on the court by the time the next term begins. Heather, that's a week and a half away.
Yeah, they're saying they wanted it done by October 1st, so we will see what happens. And something new will probably develop today. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Well, Democrats stopping, apparently, or at least it looks like, at nothing to keep Kavanaugh off the bench. Former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Joe DeGeneva, calling the political circus a disgrace.
This obviously is a fraudulent exercise in delay. We're talking about the constitutional confirmation process, which has been disgraced. Let me finish. Let me finish. Then don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Senator Feinstein and the senator from Hawaii should be ashamed of themselves for their performances. They have traduced and besmirched the United States Senate. This is being done for pure political purposes, for delay, to prevent a vote, to put it off until after the election. The Democrats are entitled to do whatever they want, and they are in fact doing exactly that with no concern whatsoever for the Constitution or the Senate. Shame on them all.
And think about this, the November elections, now just 45 days away and counting. In the meantime, President Trump doubling down on his support for Judge Kavanaugh, telling the crowd in Las Vegas to push back against Democrats in the coming election.
You know, one of the reasons I was elected was because you believed that I was going to pick great Supreme Court justices. But I want to tell you that Brett Kavanaugh is one of the finest human beings you will ever have the privilege of knowing or meeting. And he's got tremendous support, I can tell you that, tremendous. Just like Neil Gorsuch, who's now on the Supreme Court. This election, you have to vote for candidates who really know what your heart says, what your values are. You have some great, great Republican candidates. Today's Democrat Party is held hostage by left-wing haters, angry mobs, socialist fanatics, deep state bureaucrats, and their fake news allies.
The president is heading to Springfield, Missouri today, where he will hold another Make America Great Again rally. There's going to be a lot of them in the next 45 days. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That chilling Bible verse listed as the right age shooting suspect's favorite quote on Facebook. Police say that Snosha Mosley shot 6 co-workers at a warehouse where she worked before turning the gun on herself. 3 of those workers died. Police now searching for the motive, but one of those co-workers claims that she came into work wanting to, quote, pick a fight, that being the suspect. Well, the mother of a teen brutally murdered by MS-13 will be laid to rest next to her daughter today. Evelyn Rodriguez was hit and killed by a car last Friday after a confrontation with a neighbor about the memorial for her child, the location of it. Well, it was 2 years to the day that her daughter, 16-year-old Kayla Cuevas, was stabbed to death by the gang. Rodriguez was an advocate against MS-13 and a special guest at the president's State of the Union address and had appeared on our show many times, so our hearts and prayers with them. Well, the Taliban is now ready for a new round of talks with the U.S. Russia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the terror group is prepared to attend peace talks in Moscow this month. Discussions are expected to focus on prisoner exchanges and moving towards formal negotiations. The U.S. has not confirmed those talks. This, of course, coming after a brand new propaganda video shows Taliban fighters celebrating the capture of an Afghan military base, claiming to have killed 13 Afghan security guards. Well, the recovery efforts in the wake of Florence are far from over. First responders still saving lives in the Carolinas, just as some communities are finally seeing signs of floodwaters receding for the first time since the storm hit. And Griff Jenkins joins us now live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, where he spoke with service members containing the devastation, or at least trying to. Good morning, Griff. You also talked to the governor.
I did. Good morning, Heather. It's hard to believe that waters are actually rising in southeastern North Carolina. But here in Fayetteville, you can see the devastated motel behind me in Spring Lake. It's recovery mode. However, when I talked to the governor yesterday, he was visiting a firehouse where much of the Special Operations Command that did the rescues, more than 4,700 rescues since Florence hit. The governor told me there's a monumental task ahead of him, and he said that working with the president and the administration is going well. Take a listen.
Hundreds upon hundreds of rescues have occurred. I'm grateful to the men and women who do this. Amazing how we were able to pull together as Americans to get this job done. I spoke with and met with the president for a couple of hours. FEMA is giving us what we need at this moment. They have promised help in the long haul. We're going to hold them to it.
Now, the reason why it's not over is because the Cape Fear River, which crested at a record level a few days ago, moving all the way down to Wilmington, down to South Carolina. That's why some of the many firemen you just saw are headed deploying all the way down there to do rescues, do evacuations of people that stayed behind. And we went to Fort Bragg and spoke to Chris Mohan, the commanding general of the Army's 3rd Expeditionary Sustainment Force. That means they're in charge of the high water vehicles and the rescue teams. Here's what he had to say.
I think we have 16 separate teams out all across the eastern part of North Carolina, and those teams are out, and we still got a ways to go because, as you know, the floodwaters that might be receding here in Fayetteville, all that water is being pushed down towards the coast.
So while the sun's out and the water's receding in many parts, the first responders are still in action. Heather?
Yeah, I think it's so unfortunate that this is getting overshadowed by so many other stories coming out of D.C. right now. Griff, thank you so much for your coverage. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk about Cleveland now. Yeah, a good story for you if you're a Cleveland fan. 2 words. Apparently some of those fans were worried they'd never hear this again. Browns win. The Browns beating the New York Jets. Yep, 21-17 for their first win in almost 2 years. And bars all across the city of Cleveland finally unlocking their Bud Light victory fridges, handing out free beers to everyone. Fans celebrating as if they actually won the Super Bowl. Even the Cleveland police tweeting, "We won." The free beer thing. Okay, Cleveland, stay calm. Go Browns. And Tom saying, haven't even left downtown Cleveland, and I've seen 3 fans passed out on sidewalks. So keep it together. And if you're still awake and watching us, congratulations. Well, the time now is about 11 minutes after the top of the hour, and killed in cold blood, switching gears completely. A woman jogging in a trendy D.C. neighborhood stabbed multiple times. The senseless murder, even stunning seasoned law enforcement.
Over the course of my almost 30 years in policing, this does not happen. This type of thing really doesn't happen.
Our own Jillian Mealy is live in Washington with the questions police are working around the clock to answer. And Brett Kavanaugh's accuser says that she will testify, but on her own terms. So when will Republicans say enough is enough? Our next guest worked with Judge Kavanaugh and is here to set that record straight.
Scared of the rain, just scared to sing, but you better believe you're gonna fly with me.
Even include free shipping. Call 1-800-504-2470 or go online now.
Welcome back to Fox and Friends. First, Judge Brett Kavanaugh's accuser agrees to testify if lawmakers meet her list of demands. So what can we expect, and will this help or hurt her chances, or his chances, of being confirmed? Joining me now is Assistant Professor of the Antonin Scalia Law School at George Mason University, Jennifer Mascott. And she also, by the way, clerked for Brett Kavanaugh, Judge Kavanaugh, I should say, in his first year on the U.S. Court of Appeals. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So as we begin this discussion, let's just bring up some of the demands from Christine Blasey Ford's team. She's saying only members of the committee can question her. Kavanaugh cannot be in the room at the time, and Kavanaugh should be questioned before her. Let's begin there. What do you think about these list of demands, and is this unprecedented, some of these demands?
So as you mentioned, I did clerk for Judge Kavanaugh 12 years ago. I've known him and his family since that time. He's always acted with the utmost character and integrity, and he has categorically denied these allegations. My understanding is at the start of the week, he sat down under penalty of perjury and talked to committee staff, categorically denying the accusations. He has again reiterated his willingness to come before the committee, without placing conditions on that, and wants to move forward as soon as possible to clear his name. And so I trust that the senators will continue to have a process that enables him, to do that, as well as everybody's also expressed interest and willingness in hearing from Dr. Ford. Mm-hmm. The timing's somewhat challenging because, as you know, it sounds as though these questions were first arose, maybe 6 weeks ago, but Judge Kavanaugh and the public, of course, are just hearing about them now, much later in the fact, after he already sat through 32 hours of hearings, answered 1,300 written questions, and had a lot of in-person meetings with senators, and none of these concerns were brought up in private at that time.
Right, and there was an opportunity to do that. I mean, Senator Feinstein herself could have brought these up privately with Judge Kavanaugh, but for some reason chose to not do it at that time, but instead chose to do it at this time, which many people are arguing that does a disservice to both parties involved. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your personal experience with Judge Kavanaugh. There's another report out right now alleging that female students who wanted to clerk for Judge Kavanaugh were advised to dress a certain way. Did you ever hear anything like that?
Absolutely not. And my reaction reading that report is that it was outlandish and ridiculous. I clerked for Judge Kavanaugh his first year on the bench. When I prepared for my interview with him, I basically was told to learn the law and talk about the law. And in my experience with him then and the 12 years following with him and his family, he's been nothing but completely above board, transparent, highest amount of character and integrity.
I want to now go back to the original question in terms of what is supposedly going to happen next week with this list of things that have to take place before she agrees to testify. You mentioned at the very beginning of this conversation that Judge Kavanaugh has agreed to come before the committee without any type of questions or no request. He'll do it no matter what.
That's my understanding, as I believe he issued a statement yesterday, again reiterating his willingness to come before the committee. He wants the opportunity to clear his name, and he is willing for that to move forward as quickly as possible. It's the Senate's process right now. Obviously, they've got the role of advice and consent in nomination proceedings, but Judge Kavanaugh's got an unblemished record. He's a brilliant jurist. The American people saw that when he testified before the Senate for more than 30 hours of hearings, and wants to have the opportunity to clear his name, and has already come out and categorically denied these accusations, which I can tell you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. If she does not, because we're running out of time, if she does not come forward, do you think he should still move forward?
Well, I strongly support Judge Kavanaugh, yes, and he's categorically denied the accusations. And so I think based on everything I know of him and his character and integrity, yes, I would support his confirmation. I would like a fair process here. Everybody should be heard from, but Judge Kavanaugh should also have a chance to share his side of the story.
All right, and hopefully that will happen next week. Jennifer Mascott, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate the personal insight. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, the time now is about almost 20 minutes after the top of the hour, and a dangerous game of tug of war with a fire tornado, the rare phenomenon caught on camera that sent flames more than 100 feet into the air. And rushing to judgment, Time magazine showing Brett Kavanaugh in Justice Clarence Thomas's shadow, the controversial cover creating a firestorm online. And Carly Shimkus is here to share your comments.
With worsening weather patterns, only on Fox.
Well, an air pressure mix-up causes more than 30 passengers to start bleeding on a flight. The Jetway Airways flight forced to make an emergency landing in Mumbai, India, when passengers suddenly started experiencing ear pain, nosebleeds as well. The airline says that the crew forgot to turn on the cabin's air pressure switch. About 5 of those passengers suffering mild deafness, and they will take more than a week to recover. Can you imagine? Well, the FBI now opening a terror investigation after a student pilot is charged with trying to steal a plane from a Florida airport. Nishal Sankta is accused of hopping a fence and sneaking onto an empty passenger jet in Orlando. Technicians inside tackling the 22-year-old, but he broke free, running onto the tarmac before being arrested. Authorities now trying to figure out his motive. This happening more than a month after a baggage handler stole a plane from Seattle Tacoma Airport, crashing it to his death. So what has changed? That is the question Time magazine is asking on its new cover, showing Judge Brett Kavanaugh standing in the shadow of Justice Clarence Thomas. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115, here with how social media is turning the tables. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. So the latest Time magazine cover really is a snapshot of both past and present. It shows both judges, both accused of sexual misconduct. And the cover story talks about the Me Too movement and says that it proves that our whole reality is the product of the privilege and prejudice of entitled men. Now, some folks on social media disagree with that narrative in the cover and are sending out messages like this. This is why no one reads Time magazine. But Randy on Twitter says it's totally Anita Hill 2.0. And then another Twitter user chiming in saying Clarence Thomas did a great job of shutting the Senate down with his blistering rebuke. Perhaps he should give Brett Kavanaugh some words of advice. So still some support, of course, for both sides of the story. One thing is for sure, this is dividing dividing the nation, to say the least.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens next week in terms of both individuals coming before all of those people. Let's talk about this big game hunter, thinking that her hobby helps conserve wildlife, but other people have a different opinion.
That's right. So she is a big game hunter, former beauty queen as well, and she's receiving backlash for appearing in a TV interview saying, like you said, Heather, that her hobby, big game hunting, helps conservation. Take a listen to her.
Ultimately, hunters are the ones that are giving so much back to preserving these wild species. Hunters have that desire to see new areas, and as a result of these hunters coming in, they're creating jobs.
So that's Olivia Nellis Opry. She won Mrs. Nebraska in 2003. She's basically saying that big game hunters help animals in conservation because they have a vested interest in them. Social media always divided on this topic. Some people agree with her, saying those hunters pay millions of dollars for those hunts. That money makes it worthwhile for the government to protect wildlife. But another Twitter user chiming in saying trophy hunting is absolutely out of order and should be banned all over the world. One thing, though, really is that these folks receive death threats on social media. Come on. Like, seriously.
I wonder where that YouTube video was shot, though, if that's her home.
It is. It is her home. Yes. It's her home in Montana, I believe. That's where she lives.
All right. So Chick-fil-A, honoring first responders. Good story.
Yeah, absolutely. A Chick-fil-A in Wilmington, North Carolina. They're opening their doors for the first time since the storm, but only to extra special customers. They posted this message on Facebook saying, all first responders are invited to join us for a free meal. We will have our dining room open for you. We are so thankful for your hard work. So they say that they want to open their doors to first responders first so that they can have a place to get a meal, kick their feet off, and relax for a little bit while they're trying to help out so many other people.
That is awesome. Love some Chick-fil-A.
What a great idea.
All right. Thank you so much, Carly. Have a great weekend.
Appreciate it.
Well, the time now is about half past the top of the hour. And from planning a wedding to planning a funeral, the family of the jogger who was stabbed to death in D.C. trying to make sense of this nightmare.
Her wedding dress. We went to the store for that reason, but I never imagined that dress was the dress for her burial.
Cannot imagine. Jillian Mealy is live for us in Washington with the family's message for the community. Welcome back. You're watching Fox and Friends First. A heartbroken mother says that her daughter fought up until the last minute after being stabbed 7 times on a jog in D.C. A surveillance video showing Wendy Martinez's final moments of life. It was so disturbing. Jillian Mealy joins us now live from D.C. as police bring some closure to the family. Good morning, Jillian.
And that's right, disturbing, really a good way to describe it. And thanks to good policing, surveillance video, and tips, police were able to arrest 23-year-old Anthony Crawford. And what they say is just a senseless act that right now they can't explain. Police say it was unprovoked and random. We spoke with her family in the place where she had her final moments. Look at this.
Her wedding dress, I saw her. I was here last weekend. We went to the store for that reason, but I never imagined that dress was the dress for her burial. That was my daughter. A person that was very loving. She had a lot of dreams and she loved her community and she was very proud to be a Latina.
What are you thinking looking at this? The sneakers, the flowers?
I feel appreciation.
Over the course of my almost 30 years in policing, this does not happen. This type of thing really doesn't happen hardly at all, almost never. I have a little bit of difficulty talking about this in detail. The injury that she suffered was very, very serious. There were multiple witnesses that were on the scene that had given us a description that was consistent with the person of interest in the video.
People have cameras all over their homes nowadays. Police need that, right?
Police need it. It's a new, valuable tool that police officers use in their various investigations.
And also good policing.
Oh, absolutely. What we found here was Washington finest. What you had were beat police officers who knew the community. What you had were detectives who knew how to conduct investigations, and you had citizen involvement. Those three was a concoction that led to a suspect in the murder here of Wendy Martinez.
One of the things that I would like to say is it was really kind of refreshing to see that the people who saw her in this very serious condition, their first thought was to try and help her. The only thing that we can do is bring some closure to the family and then make the community feel safer when we take a person like this off the street.
The outpouring of support for your sister, what is that like?
It's incredible. It's something that I would have never expected. Honestly, it's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen, and that's why I can't lose my faith in humanity.
Her family's so strong at this point, and they say prayer has been pulling them through right now, saying her life was a true testament of her faith and belief in the Lord, describing her as a gift that was just cut too short, too soon. Back to you,
a lot
Heather.
of those folks there are the witnesses trying to save her life desperately as well. We'll see what happens on this. Thank you so much, Jillian. Well, the woman accusing Judge Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault is now willing to testify, but under specific conditions. Christine Blasey Ford's legal team says that she will take the stand if there are no questions from lawyers, if Judge Kavanaugh is not allowed in the room, and if he testifies first. But despite her list of demands, Judge Kavanaugh is doubling down, saying that he is ready to testify as soon as possible. Now, even though Kavanaugh's accuser appears willing to take the stand, the left is still waging war on his character without evidence. Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com, warning that this could ruin his life.
The idea that justice, truth and guilt and innocence, that these things can be decided simply by appeal to men are bad and women must always be believed, it's absurd. You have to have some standard of evidence before you destroy a man's life. You at least have to give him the chance to defend himself. Democrats are now saying things like, if he even defends himself, he's insulting the woman. This is all insanity, and again, it's demonstrative of the fact that if we really wanted to get to the truth of the situation, if Democrats really gave one crap about this, what Democrats would be doing is putting this woman in front of a hearing, calling whatever witnesses they could, and then they would be attempting to bolster her case. They wouldn't be hiding her and then suggesting that any questions to be asked are somehow undermining the justice system.
Well, several Senate Democrats have come out in full support of Ford, saying that they believe her claims despite seeing no evidence. And battle over border security, President Trump taking aim at Senate Democrats for failing to provide more funding for his border wall.
Sadly, because of the Democrats' obstruction, only $1.6 billion was just approved. I'm not thrilled, but after the election, they're all telling me we're getting our wall the way we want it. So let's see what happens. And by the way, we want that wall. We want that wall. You know where I am.
So can Congress accomplish what Americans actually voted for? Here now to weigh in is the Director for Policy Studies at the Center for Immigration Studies, Jessica Vaughn. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Glad to be with you.
So, Jessica, $1.6 billion, that is far short of the $5 billion that the president wanted. Is he justified in being frustrated?
He should be very frustrated. I mean, it looks now that Republicans in Congress are ready to squander this opportunity to deliver exactly what voters wanted and voted for 2 years ago, which is more money for border enforcement and also for immigration enforcement in the interior of the country. These programs need resources to be effective. That's what people want to see happen. But they're saying now that they want to wait until after the election for some reason. I mean, this is the time to deliver what the voters said they wanted. And it's also a good opportunity to put members of Congress on record for either working for this agenda or not. And that's what you want to do before an election, not after. So it's perplexing why they're doing this. I mean, the only reason I can think of is that some Republicans in House leadership, like Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, want to wait until after the election so that they can tack on to this critical Homeland Security spending bill things that are not so popular. That's the only reason they would wait.
And that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. So you were reading my mind there. Why in the world they would want to wait until after the midterms, and how this particular particular situation could impact the midterms coming up, as we said, just 45 days away.
Yeah, they don't. There are some provisions that have been put on the bill in the House that really would be unpopular and undermine the president's Hire American agenda by rewarding the employers who like to hire foreign guest workers for less money than Americans, and that would open up this new supply of guest worker visas and green cards for these employers. And that's not the message that Americans are going to want to hear, and that's why they want to wait, I think, until after the election. But people should insist that we get this done before the election. There's a real political advantage to doing that for Republicans.
And ICE also,
they're missing this opportunity.
Right, ICE also needing an infusion of money.
Well, absolutely. It's not just border security. We need resources for ICE to deal with criminal aliens and all this influx of people coming over the southern border who are absconding from their immigration court hearings, and for worksite enforcement, and for partnerships with local law enforcement, and dealing with sanctuary policies. All of these are critical needs in immigration enforcement that need to be funded. And Republicans should want everyone to go on record in supporting that and delivering that, and that is what's going to help their success in this upcoming election.
ICE also going after MS-13 and gang members, a very important role, and they need money to do it. Jessica Fahn joining us. Thank you so much. We will see if they listen to your advice and try to move ahead on it before the midterms. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Well, the time now is about 20 minutes until the top of the hour. $16,000. That is how much a legal American citizen has to pay to get in. But for dreamers, it's free. The new special treatment that you won't believe.
A lovely cheese pizza just for me.
And how's $1,000 a day for staying home and eating pizza? The brand new gig that will make your mouth water.
When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore.
If a dirty CPAP is making you sick, you're not alone. We invited CPAP users to come in and share their stories.
I started to wake up with a cough in the morning, and I wasn't sure why that was. And this began after I started with the CPAP machine. I didn't even think about the fact that there would be germs growing in this dark, warm, wet environment. But as a nurse, looking back, I should have been concerned. It wasn't too much later that I saw an ad for the SoClean CPAP sanitizer. And immediately I knew that was my solution.
SoClean is the world's first automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. It kills 99.9% of all CPAP germs and bacteria that can build up in your improperly cleaned CPAP.
Once I started using my SoClean machine, I can tell you that the sinus infections that I used to get from a CPAP are gone. It's like getting brand new equipment every day.
Even just a drop of water left in your CPAP mask or hose can create a breeding ground for germs and bacteria. With its patented design, SoClean is the only CPAP cleaner that safely, effectively, and effortlessly cleans your mask, hose, and reservoir so you can breathe easy.
The mask smelled sanitized and the air smelled sanitized, so it's a noticeable difference.
I don't worry about getting sick anymore. SoClean gives you great peace of mind that you have clean equipment. Feels great.
SoClean saves you the daily hassle of washing your CPAP by hand. Just place your mask into the machine, close the lid, and walk away.
The biggest issues I had with my CPAP machine were the inconvenience of cleaning the machine, taking it apart, making a mess. It was a chore. I know that the SoClean is going to take care of everything for me.
I don't have to push a button or anything. I just put the mask in the chamber, close the lid, and it runs automatically. SoClean has been a lifesaver.
SoClean works on all popular CPAP machines and masks. Try it risk-free for 30 days. Even shipping is free. Call 1-800-298-7210 to take advantage of this limited time offer.
If you get a CPAP machine, don't even take it home until you have your SoClean machine right with it, because they are a marriage made in heaven.
SoClean uses completely hands-free technology to kill 99.9% of all CPAP germs and bacteria in your mask, hose, and reservoir. Stay healthy, sleep easy, and free yourself from the hassle of cleaning your dirty CPAP on your own.
I rest easy knowing what I'm breathing all night long is clean, and I feel confident of that with SoClean.
Try SoClean at no risk to you for 30 days, and shipping is free. Call 1-800-298-7210 to take advantage of this limited time offer, or go to trysoclean.com. Call 1-800-298-7210 now.
Well, South Carolina bracing for more severe flooding exactly 1 week since Hurricane Florence blasted onto the coast. Rivers swelling at record levels as the state deals with more than $1 billion worth of damage. The storm now blamed for 42 deaths. At the town of Conway, installing inflatable dams to keep the floodwaters out. And before and after photos shows the incredible devastation. Look at that, left behind. And then in North Carolina, volunteers saving horses stranded in neck-deep water. We can tell you they are now safe. They are back on dry land. Well, firefighters play a dangerous game of tug of war with a fire tornado. Look at this video. It shows their hose sucked into the sky. That looks like something out of a movie. This was a 200-foot tall twister. It was in Canada. It was so hot, the hose melted in midair. Firefighters say the fire-nado also threw burning logs at them for 45 minutes. Now, these flaming twisters occur when extremely hot air blows through a fire at a certain angle, causing a spinning momentum. That is unreal. That's like a nightmare. Oh. Well, Google accused of trying to manipulate search results to help protest President Trump's travel ban. Tracy Carrasco from our sister network, Fox Business, here with how workers allegedly conspired to do this. Good morning, Tracy. So more news coming out of Google.
Yes, good morning, Heather. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. And just days after President Trump's controversial travel ban took effect in January of 2017, the Journal says that Google employees thought about ways to tweak the search engine to show users how they might be able to contribute to pro-immigration organizations, contact their lawmakers, also government agencies. So according to some internal emails that the Journal had reviewed, these employees considered ideas on how to use the company's influence on the internet in response to the travel ban. Google says that it has never manipulated its search results or modified any of its products to promote a particular political ideology, not in the current campaign season, not during the 2016 election, and not in the aftermath of President Trump's executive order on immigration. Google said that none of the plans that were discussed were ever put into action.
But we keep hearing about it. I mean, things like this keep popping up. So maybe make your own decision on that at home. But let's talk about pizza again.
Yes,
great pizza here on the set yesterday, but we weren't paid $1,000 a day to eat it.
No, this sounds like a dream job, Heather. You can make up to $1,000 a day eating and making pizza, being a pizza taste tester. This is Ooni, a company that manufactures home pizza ovens. They're looking for people to come up with new recipes, make and eat these pizzas using its portable wood fire oven. So they're looking for all types of pizza pros or novices. So if you want to apply for this job, you just have to go to the company's website, submit a 60-second video, and you could be a pizza taste tester.
Oh, interesting.
Make a little dough.
Yeah, make a little dough while you're making some dough. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Tracy.
Thanks,
have a great
Heather.
weekend.
You too.
Well, the time now is about 10 minutes until the top of the hour. And beware, nearly half of all those cell phone calls will be scams by 2019. So what in the world can we do to stop it? Kurt, the cyber guy, has an answer for us. Right there he is coming in. He's going to help us hang up for good.
I'm only one call away. Come along.
Welcome back. And if you haven't noticed, robocalls are on the rise. It seems nonstop. This new report claiming that nearly half of all calls made next year will be spam. So how in the world can we avoid dealing with them? Joining me now with some tips is the cyber guy, Kurt Knudsen. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
It seems like this is already happening.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
almost every call I get, it's spam.
Right? Yesterday alone, I received at least 4 spam phone calls, and it seems like they're out of the blue all of a sudden.
Yeah.
The volume is just on the increase. Expect even more next year. In fact, half of your calls are now going to be spam calls
Right.
from robocalls.
So how in the world do you stop them? Because I know, a lot of us, myself included, sign up for the Do Not Call registry. Does that end? Does that run out? Is it no
helps.
longer
It's
valid?
not the end. It helps. It's not the end. You should still do it. There's some really good tips, though, that you could do. So, for example, wherever your phone is coming from, whether it's a hard line, you have a phone company at home, or your wireless company, you can ask them if they use call blockers on their end. Can they themselves control something? If so, please turn it on. That's all you have to ask for. And then you yourself can take the action of blocking unknown callers or simply don't engage them. Just hang up as soon as you hear that stupid message like, "Hi, how are you?"
Right, yeah.
"I'm sorry, I didn't hear you." And
We're
you're like,
giving away
"Oh
a
my
free
gosh,
cruise.
It's so frustrating.
It's always a cruise with me. But I can't block unknown callers because a lot of my calls from work, if someone's on a work phone from Fox, it'll come up as
That's
unknown.
true. So that's
So
one
can't do
thing
that.
that's not going to work for you, but it will work for a lot of people who don't allow calls that are masked to get through their own line. I mean, it's a choice that we make, and your phone will let you have that kind of control. Also, really cool are these apps that are out there. So we mentioned the Do Not Call list, which is great. Go to donotcall.gov. And then also, there are a number of apps that are out there that are helpful. There's 3 really good ones. The top are Nomo Robo, Truecaller, and Hiya. Those are great. They're free. You download them, and what they do is they themselves give you a little bit more control if you're using a smartphone.
Yeah, my phone tells me suspected spam.
Yeah.
Or, so I don't answer it.
Exactly, which at this point, I think we're all getting trained to just not answer the phone unless we know who's calling.
Yeah.
And you're right. When work's calling and it says unknown caller, I just automatically assume it's somebody from Fox, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But that's, that's not everybody's life. But it works for us.
Yeah, you have to answer when we call you to come on.
Yes, thank you.
Let's talk about Facebook, though, because we've heard about this war room that they're putting together. What do you know about that? What can you tell us about it? How will it work?
Oh, a clever PR stunt from Facebook at this point. So Sheryl Sandberg and Mark Zuckerberg have taken leadership roles. Finally, they're no longer in the denial mode. They're in the action mode. And this is one little thing that they're doing. So 300 people apparently on standby at Facebook right now to police the any wrongdoing that's going on related to the election. Their fingers are at the ready on the keyboard to delete posts that aren't accurate and get rid of accounts that are bogus and fake accounts. So that's the plan. They have this war room set up between buildings 20 and 21. It's a conference room. It's stupid, but the idea behind it is good. I think 300 people is a nice start. They need an army.
Yeah, definitely. But speaking of armies of sorts, an army of robots helping now decide if you get a job or not.
Yeah, if you're applying for a job or if you're already at a big company and, for example, you're a candidate for a new position that's come available in your own workplace, it may be that a human being isn't deciding first off, if you're going to even be considered. Every Fortune 500 company has at this point some version of artificial intelligence that they screen, and they use a machine to determine, be it from your public social media profile or keywords you may have put in your resume, they will in fact use a robot to screen you out and weed you out before humans even get a chance to have a one-on-one with you.
I don't think that's a good idea. All right. Thank you so much.
Good to see you,
Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
You too.
And we will be right back. Much more to talk about straight ahead.